How are you guys doing? So join me. I will be jamming and speaking about anything and everything guitar. So if you have any questions about, all the recent shorts I've published or anything else you're struggling with on the guitar, now is a good time. Thanks so much, Luke. By the way, I'm jamming in C minor if you want to join. So you can play your pentatonic box here on the 8th fret. Chromatic, what's up, my man? From Nepal, awesome, man. That's another country I'd love to visit. Actually, we had one of the web designers who worked with the GMC site is from Nepal, Chandra, and he's also from the community. So I know one Nepalese guy, if that's the word. Can you give a shout out to Andrew Solano? What's up, my man? Philippines. Siler, what's up, my man? So I'm using one of the Jam Room backing tracks. So if you go to the GMC site, you have on the front page Jam Room Epic Ballads. That's what I'm using now. There it ended. Okay, so I think we have another one in this jam room, which is in a major key. So that can be fun for a bit of variation there. So I'll be playing in A major now. So you can think of it as F sharp minor. It's not necessarily the best way to learn the A major scale, but if you just want to visualize the shapes in order to kind of goof around, then I think it works. Let's try it. This allows us to go a bit more slowly and just work on our phrases here and see if we can get some melodies going. That's cool, thank you, Barry. Santana, love him. I always think of that lick with Santana. He does that a lot. If you're wondering what that is, I'm just doing 17, 16, and 14 here. So pick one note, and the rest are pull-offs. And pull-offs are done by just moving your fingers downwards. You can't just lift them in the air, because that's not gonna produce a note, right? You're gonna have to pull them downwards. Remember any Gilmour solos? Cool, we got my man Ette here. What's up? So I don't remember much Gilmour, but he does a lot of these. Doesn't do any of that though. That's Gilmour on steroids. Kim, thank you so much, man. As well, Atte. It's been a while. So, what scale am I using? Good question. So it's A major. You can hear it has like a majorish vibe. So A major or A major pentatonic. And you can see the A major pentatonic shape is the exact same shape as the F sharp minor, right? So we can play our trusty box here on the 14th fret. All your blues licks if you want to. That's a cool question or a cool request, adding some arpeggios. So I love to add bit of arpeggios to my lines. Doesn't really matter if I'm shredding or playing phrases, right? I can, even if I'm playing some blues, still do. Whoops, and I messed up. One more time. So a lot of times when I'm playing these arpeggios, I'm just using one or two shapes. So either like the major shape, which looks like the C major chord, or more of a minor shape, which is so I'm not using a lot of the fancy stuff. You know, sometimes I go into but I'm not really, you know, comfortable enough to shred around with that stuff. So usually just like a basic major or minor arpeggio form is what I use. Thank you, Supernova. Try the Phrygian scale. Whew, that could be a bit crazy over this one. We can always try. Syndrex, what's up? Yo, what's up? Yeah, exactly. So what Atle is saying, it's the same shape whether you use minor or major, but the notes have completely different functions. So it's two different scales in terms of sound, but the shapes are the same. Let's try, I think the first backing track is nice as well. So this is from the GMC Jam Room Epic Ballads. Yeah, so this is in A minor. Syndrex, we can definitely do some blues. Yeah, Matteo Mancuso, love him. Is crazy. I hope you can hear and see me properly. How many years of practice? So I think I'm approaching 30 years of practice now. So I'm using the Mesa Boogie Mark 5 amp and a TS808, so a tube screamer, and then some reverb and delay. Yeah, exactly. The Phrygian dominant is a mode of the harmonic minor scale. Doesn't always work. It has to be like the right type of chord progression. But then it's a lot of fun to throw in some Phrygian. Let me call you a legend. Thank you. Done better. Well, there's no such thing as better in music. That's the good thing. It's all a matter of preference, what you love doing, and you know, what you play during those 35 years is going to determine the outcome. And obviously, we play different things because we have different preferences. So, I disagree with the fact that I would have done better than you at it. Okay. Jamming away here. It's a lot of fun. Epic ballads from the GMC Jam Room lesson there. Which is the best pentatonic scale for an easy, great solo. So nothing really beats like the first box of the pentatonic scale. You know, it beats everything in terms of playability and the amount of licks available. So because you can play on, you know, if I'm in A minor, I can play on just, you know, the same fret here. That really helps a lot. And then we have all these classic blues licks, which, you know, I'm showing you in the shorts on the channel. You can use all of that. So it's hard to beat the first box. And then when you know that, you can start adding the other boxes. And then you can kind of start connecting them all. There are just 5 boxes. So once you know those 5 pentatonic boxes, then you are going to be able to play all over the fretboard, which is what I'm doing here. So to answer the question, what scale here, I'm just playing A minor all over the guitar. So it's all A minor pentatonic. So that can really take you anywhere. And then you can start adding some notes in between, and you start getting different scales, like maybe the Aeolian scale or maybe the Dorian mode, and you can even go the harmonic minor route. But I think it's a good starting point with a pentatonic scale, because you have the 5 strong notes, and then you can add a bit of tension with the notes that are in between. Thank you, Kim. Yeah, agreed. It's a generation thing at what, you know, the references we have. So the scale I'm using is A minor or A minor pentatonic. Whoops, I messed up. So I need to get better at letting the music breathe. So I just play too many notes. Let's try that. Silence. Also trying to get better at that glissando vibrato, which Greg Howe does a lot. So if we combine pauses and some glissando vibrato and some mess ups for sure, let's see how it goes. Can you spot those mess ups? It's always fun. That's an interesting question. Some first picking exercises. It's hard to answer in general because you know, I don't know if you're into like more of a bluesy style where you want to do maybe some, you know, picking that is based around bluesy stuff, or maybe you're more into like a neoclassical stuff. So that's kind of important depending on, you know, depending on your style and musical preferences. You're probably going to choose different picking exercises. But here is a really like basic one for 3-note string that I do all the time. So 11, 12, 10, 11, 12, 10. So, oh, 11, 12, 14, sorry. Bit confused today. So 11, 12, 14, 11, 12, 14. So we got... Well, that's a good, not only is it a good exercise, but, I use that kind of stuff all the time when I shred, basically. But you would maybe look at a different kind of like a tune-up string exercise if you're more into pentatonics and blues. Let's see what you guys are saying. We got Supernova here. Awesome, man. So you watched my early videos in 2009 on YouTube. Just off playing guitar, but thanks to your vids, it really helped me a lot. Wow, I helped you in 2009. That's awesome, man. Inspired me to continue play guitar till this day. Thanks, man. That's awesome to hear. So here's to another, well, how many years is that? 15 years? Yeah, let's say 15 years. Another 15 years, at least. Had you played like that in the 80s, you'd have a puffed up hair. Yeah, that's true. You do have quite a bit, too much hair. And being cover of Guitar Magazine. Well, who knows? And there was already another Swede who located in the West Coast. Malmsteen or something was his name. True. At least one Swede. So let's see if I can play the exercise I showed you and see how it sounds in a musical context. All right. So as I said, I'm trying to not overplay. I do that all the time, just too many notes. So try to, have those pauses. And I failed. Let's try it again. And also, work a bit on kind of sliding thing. So just a few notes and then a pause. Much better, right? Except I messed up. Cool, Atu. So when I learn things, do I tend to go by ear or by sheets? So I guess I should first say that I never learn anybody else's material these days. Maybe I should. I don't know. I just find it easy to be inspired with the guitar and just sit down and play stuff. So I'll maybe start to improvise, and maybe I'll just jam like this, or I will start with something improvised and then just turn it into some kind of riff or lick. So I don't have to learn other people's stuff anymore. I used to do it like 20 years ago, and at that time, if I found tabs, they were harder to find, especially for the shreddy stuff I wanted to play. Then I would use them. But a lot of times I wouldn't find any tabs, so I would just have to transcribe. And I had this little Akai you could slow down, and that was really useful for learning. I remember some like blues Saraceno solos and Marty Friedman, but that was by ear. But I didn't do it a lot, so I can't say I got the best ears in the world. I think if I had continued for a bunch of years, I would have noticed definitely an improvement in my ear training, but that was enough for me to just gain inspiration. All I ever wanted was just play, and when there's no inspiration, that's when you have to fix the issue, right? So if I'm not inspired, then maybe back in the days I would learn some other material. But these days I just go out for a walk and I get back, sit with the guitar, and I'm inspired again. So, but maybe a day will come when I'm no longer inspired, and then I will have to learn someone else's material. And then I would probably just use the internet, because it's so easy just to find stuff on the internet. How did you learn when you were starting out? So when I started really getting into solo guitar, I was around 18 years old. That's when I took like 1 year of private lessons with Christian Niemann, really nice, super skilled shredder, Swedish shredder, and he played with like Therion, which is a big like German symphony metal band. So I had 1 year of lessons with him, and he took me through like the basic modes, and just a little bit of ear training and a little bit of rhythm training, and a few of his favorite licks. Kind of general, but I was really inspired by him, because he just sat and practiced all day. So I thought, well, maybe I could do that as well. So I tried to do all the correct things, do some ear training, do some improvisation, do some metronome practicing. But in reality, what I did the most was work on my technique for lots of hours. And then when I was totally exhausted, I would just like turn on some kind of backing track, and I had this Yamaha sequencer, and then I would just like jam to probably horrible sounding tracks, but they were decent enough for me to keep going, and they would loop forever, which was appreciated. And then I just like I would, work on these blues phrases. And I didn't realize it back then, but that might have been the most important thing I did back then. Of course, the technique stuff is always fun, and you always benefit from having technique. But I think that the simple blues jamming kind of injected musicality into my practicing and my playing in a way that was super effective. Right? I could jam for 1.5 hours, and I would unconsciously start putting together all these licks and patterns that I had been practicing. So that was useful. I haven't tried any Troy Stetina books, but I've heard a lot of good things about him. Let's do the C minor version again. So C minor now. cool question. So, what do I think will be the future of guitar? So I think in order for guitar to survive, it has to kind of make it into more like mainstream songs again. So there are some very well, we have Polyphia, right? And I guess they are a bit of mainstream. Still very like shred oriented. I think guitar needs to, you know, be heard in songs again, not just your like funk thing or little strumming. You know, you can easily discover new sounds on the guitar. We have so many cool pedals, effects, and stuff, and some of that could really make it to like the forefront of a hit song. So like cool new tones, and I think that would really make guitar big again in the future. So let's see if that happens. Tran, what's up? No, I don't know that Nuno solo. I love Nuno Bettencourt. Learned a little bit of his stuff back in the days. Not much though. Yeah, Guthrie, I don't think he wants to do any mainstream stuff either. I mean, he just wants to do his thing and he does that really well, so I hope he continues with that. I do think it's interesting that he got to, or he gets to play with, what's he called? The German composer, the big, who does all those movie stuff. So yeah, and that's almost mainstream. So in a way, he does mainstream, but yeah, he's very special, and that's cool. I mean, that's the best thing if you can really make a living out of just being you, and that's what he does. So that's awesome. You know, there's no need to be mainstream. I guess it simplifies if your true personality matches with what mainstream is looking for, but it's good. There's a place for everybody here, and Guthrie is a very cool original, I think. Also, the percussive hammer-ons from nowhere. New plays are just stunning. Yeah. And this kind of thing. I guess he does open strings a lot. I don't know. I can't do that stuff. Who does that? Something like that. Can you show us the full scale of major and minor? It is confusing me to determine where do I position the shape of minor and minor. Oh. Well, if you have... so in this case, the backing track is in C minor. So what you need to do then is find the note of C. I find it easiest to find the notes on the lowest E string. And I know that on the 8th fret, I have C. If you're unsure, you might want to, check with E, F, G, A, B, C. Here you have C. So then what you have to do is position, the root note of your scale. So if you learn the minor scale books, then you've probably seen the root note, right? You have to position that root note on the 8th fret low E string. Then you're good to go. So let's try it. Here's C. Here's my C minor. So that's the first kind of, scale pattern of C minor. And then I know my other 6 patterns as well, so I can connect them. Cool question. So who did I listen to when starting out? So we can all share our influences here, but I'm just going to name a few. The list is really long, but just the guitarist list, I would say Eric Johnson, Steve Morse, Marty Friedman, Alan Holsworth, Yngwie Malmsteen, Satch Vai, Blues Saraceno, Tony McAlpine, really love his style. But I grabbed so many bits, SRV from all different players, and the influences musically extend beyond that. Obviously, I started with rock and punk, the bands of the 90s like Nirvana, Metallica, Guns N' Roses. And these days, I appreciate anything with a cool song, so I listen to a lot of the Spotify playlist of my kids. They're really good at finding these really futuristic and really strong songs. Unfortunately, many of them don't have guitar, but that doesn't mean they're bad songs. But I was a bit struck I couldn't find out, more names. Well, Greg Howe, basically a lot of the shrapnel artists. So Greg Howe, Paul Gilbert, Vinnie Moore. Maybe not, the top, my top influences. Definitely learned a lot from them. Yeah. I'd have to go through my old, VHS from back in the days in order to give you the full list. Can you shred the 5-shape position of key in C minor? So 5-shape position, if we're in C minor or Aeolian, we have 7 notes, so we actually have 7 positions. If we're in C minor pentatonic, then there are 5 positions. So let's do that. So here's the first one. Yeah, Michael Lee Firkins is awesome. That's the number 1, right? And And then we have number 2. Number 3. And we have I guess that would be 4, and we have the final one before we start again, right? So, and there we have the 1, right? I don't know how useful it is. It goes by kind of fast, but there you have the 5. And then you can of course play them the other way, right? So you go downwards, start with the first one, box 1. Oh, Jason Becker, love him. Yeah, of course. Especially, you know, the stuff he did with Marty. So that's number 1. Then you have number 5, right? It starts again in this direction. So that's an interesting question. I'm stuck playing the minor major. What should I do next? So if you're stuck learning a scale, the first question I need to ask, are you also learning solos and licks within that scale? Because if you just practice the scale, it's going to take you nowhere. I mean, it can be cool to just visualize it, and you can use it for a bit of technique practicing. But generally, if you want to learn to play fast, playing a scale up and down is a bad idea. You want a small segment. So if my goal is to be able to do play like a scale box fast, then I wouldn't practice it like that, you know? This is not how you practice it. You practice it like this. Taking, you know, 2 strings at a time, trying to build speed. That's going to take you a long time. When you can do that, then you practice other places as well. The point is I'm doing short segments here. When I can play them fast, that's when I work on putting them together. But you wouldn't start practicing like this, up and down, because you can't really focus on, making small movements, being relaxed, precise finger placement, muting the unwanted strings. All that stuff is hard. So if you also think about, where to put the next finger all the time, you won't be able to concentrate on, the important stuff. Shameless plug here. That's what I speak about in my accelerated speed building course. Just, all the things that goes, around just learning to play fast. So if you want to focus on learning scales in order to play fast, then work on small segments and develop speed. Think about precise technique. Don't play over your comfort speed. And when things start feeling better, then you can start applying those short segments or patterns within scale boxes. Now, if you're looking to play musical stuff, so improvise, play solos and licks and, phrases and melodies within scales, that's a whole different story. Then I would still not advise you to just practice scales up and down. It doesn't help. But you can, practice scale just to visualize it. And then you should learn songs that use melodies within these scales. And lucky you, almost all songs use either minor or major. So you're going to find plenty of examples, right? So that's what I would advise you to do. If you want to work on speed, work on small segments before you put them into scale boxes. If you want to work on the musical side, learn licks, melodies, phrases, solos, and then practice your scales a little bit, learn some more licks and solos, go back to practicing your scales, and then you will start to see how all these musical examples which you've learned, how they kind of fit within those scales. So that would be my reply to, being stuck learning the major or minor scale. How much time do you take to practice guitar for a day? Richie Kotzen, that's another example. I love him, especially the Bipolar Blues album. I learned a few of his solos. So many names I couldn't think of now because I'm getting really old and senile. Is that a word? How much time do you take to practice guitar for a day? That's a good question, Francis. So these days, I don't practice as much, but I still play a lot because I, work on my recordings and stuff like that. So I don't really know how to divide or how I should classify my playing time, whether it's practicing or not. But I play for easily 1 or 2 hours or more per day. Practice time, I would say like 30 or 40 minutes, and the rest is just working with the guitar, recording stuff, and working on sounds and trying to compose or write riffs, licks, whatever. So yeah, I average a few hours. And when I really got serious about learning the guitar, then I would practice like between 5 and 8 hours per day, which is dangerous. You can injure yourself, and I did injure myself. I couldn't play for like 6 months, and took me a whole year to get back. So you should be careful with that kind of routine. But it's a simple equation. If your progress is going to be determined by the amount of effort you put into it and the time you spend. So if you multiply those, then you get progress, right? But you got to survive as well. So you have to eat, and you have to not injure yourself. You have to sleep, and maybe work as well. All that stuff. Yeah, it's going to be a combination of all that. We have to play a little bit. Whenever I do long talking, there's always someone saying, hey, play something, shred something, man. So let's do it. Sandy, what's up? Sandy Maria. You have any albums written? No albums. You can find some of my singles on Spotify. I think they're still on Spotify, but also just on my YouTube channel, Christopher Dahl. Is it recommended for the begin? Thanks for asking, by the way, Aaron. Is it recommended for the beginners to visualize? See, I think maybe did I miss another comment of your, Aaron? Oh, hello. I missed hello. Hello there, Aaron. So is it recommended for beginners to visualize and memorize all scales of the fretboard? You can do it, yeah. But the thing is, if you work hard on visualizing scales on the fretboard without connecting any real music to them, like licks and solos and maybe some riffs and chords, you're going to forget about them. It's not necessarily wasted time, because you will already be aware of, there's a scalar system and all that, and it's good stuff. But I found that for a good 90% of the people approaching me with this kind of problem, usually what they need is more examples of things to do with those scales. Because once they know a few licks that'll take them around the guitar, once they can play that, then remembering those scale boxes becomes second nature. So usually, if you're struggling hard with remembering scale boxes, it usually means you haven't started in the right spot. It's much better to first learn some examples and then learn the scales, because then when you learn the scales, you're going to be like, aha, that's where those licks, solos, and patterns, that's where they came from. And it's going to be so much easier for you to connect this theory with practical knowledge. And that makes a world of difference when learning stuff. You really want to make that connection between practical stuff and theory. No, I don't know David Brewster's late night. Sorry. Trying to catch up with your comments here. Knowledge and practice. Which one should be first for guitar play? Not sure what you mean. No. Oh, so you mean like theory maybe, or actually playing? I always think that playing comes first. Theory, people who want to learn theory or scales before they start playing, it's a bit like learning the alphabet before you can speak. It's not really useful. First, get speaking. Get some input so you have things to say. Learn some songs so you can output stuff. You can play those songs. You can write your own songs, and then later on, learn theory, and then you're going to start connecting the dots, figuratively speaking. My elbow, yeah, it's fine, yeah. I mean, when I messed up my left arm, I was young. That was 20 years ago or more. So I'm okay, but, being on the wrong side of 40, if I don't exercise, especially my back, but just in general, my upper body. If I don't exercise my upper body and my core muscles, then I can't shred anymore. If I try, it can work for a while, but then I start feeling pain. And if I keep on going, I will definitely sustain an injury. So for me, being able to shred is very much connected to physical exercise. So I have to regularly do physical exercise. Otherwise, I can't play any fancy stuff anymore. And who knows, maybe I wouldn't be able to play anything if I just totally stopped exercising. Best effects. So distortion has to be the best effect. That's really what allows you to get this nice sustain. So distortion has to be the best one. And then you probably want a bit of reverb and delay on top of that to just make it sound not so dry. So basically make it sound a bit more musical. Can you please play the forbidden riff? It's like you're referring to this one, right? I can't play it. Which effect do you use mostly? And can you tell me the best effects for rock solo? So I would say probably distortion, right? Sometimes I just use the built-in distortion of my amp. If you have a good tube amp, it's probably going to have pretty cool distortion on it, but you still might need to push the signal a little bit, so some kind of booster. There are dedicated booster pedals. I have two compressors, which can work both as compressors or boosters, but also I can boost the signal with an overdrive. So I have full tone OCD or like tube screamer. Depends a little bit what kind of sound you're going for, basically. Tube screamer I find is pretty cool for anything metal. I use for both like rhythm and lead metal, whereas a full tone OCD is more flexible. You can use it for metal, but it works for anything in between. It's like very touch sensitive and very good control of, where you want your boost to be, where in the mid-range. Major, minor scale, pentatonic scale, that's what I mainly know. I'd rather a little bit without the scale. Yeah, that's a perfect start. Major, minor, pentatonic, those are the bread and butter of my playing. Okay, late night lessons. Check them out. You can always send me a link with them so I don't forget about it. Sandy Maria, thank you. Where are you from? Stockholm, Sweden. Har vi några svenskar här i chatten? Is it okay to skip practicing? I thought you were going to ask, is it okay to skip leg day? People aren't often always in the mood to play guitar, sometimes due to exhaustion. Yeah, you can definitely, don't feel the pressure to always play. I know how that feels, but I think it can be worse to practice when you don't feel like doing it. And for two main reasons. It's going to be harder to find inspiration again if you push yourself to do stuff you don't like, It's a bit like, forcing someone to practice. let's say you force your kid to practice guitar every day. Chances are it's not going to be as fun, right? As if they come back to it, by their own will. So the same applies to you. If you force yourself, it's going to be harder to kind of get back to it and find the joy in it. And maybe even more importantly is when you're not completely devoted to what you're doing. So in other words, if you don't feel like practicing, you'd rather just lay on the couch watching TV, and maybe you're practicing like this. I wonder what I'm gonna do tomorrow. That kind of practicing doesn't help you, It's much better to not practice that day, wait 2 days, and then practice super focused for 30 minutes. That's what makes the difference. So it's definitely okay to skip practicing. The key is inspiration. You have to be inspired, otherwise it's hard. Can you play Through the Fire and Flame? No. What is that? Is that some power metal stuff? Where are you from? I'm watching you from Myanmar. Awesome. So we're on 2 different sides of the planet. I'm in Europe, Sweden. California, USA. Awesome. I was actually born in San Francisco. I was just there for a few weeks. So how can I master full scale of minor major scale? Do I need to memorize all the positions? Well, Christopher, when you say master, I don't think you're referring to just playing the dots, right? This is probably not your definition of mastering the boxes, right? I covered a lot of boxes there, but I don't know if that's the definition of mastering. I think what you're looking for is more of a, where you kind of can play it musically or try to. Where you work your way around the fretboard. And as I said, the way to master this is really to learn musical examples and practice them a lot. So learn a lick, learn how to move it around, and then you're going to see how that fits into the scale boxes. That's the only way to master it. And really just play over backing tracks, jam around with them, If you can, even without playing fast, if you can just move around the fretboard between the boxes, that's a good way to really mastering them as opposed to just remembering them. So this is a great way to practice. I messed up. I've practiced like this for a long time, just improvising up and down. So just jamming, it doesn't have to be the fancy stuff, it can be the slow stuff, but playing music, that's how you master a scale. You don't master it by just playing the scale, you have to do something musical within it.